Imagine waking up tomorrow and hearing the news. A massive 20-meter-wide portal has suddenly appeared at the bottom of the Challenger Deep, the deepest point in the ocean. And what's crazier? That portal is directly connected to the surface of Mars, right above the Curiosity rover. At last, Mars would get liquid water pouring down on its barren surface. But what would happen back here on Earth as our oceans slowly drain away into the red planet? Let's dive into this fascinating scenario. At first, you might expect chaos, a huge whirlpool sucking ships down, waves crashing inward, entire coastlines vanishing in days. But surprisingly, not much happens immediately. Even with the incredible pressure forcing water through that opening, the oceans are unimaginably vast. The level of the sea would drop less than a centimeter per day. That's right, on the surface, you wouldn't even see a dramatic whirlpool. The ocean is just too deep and too massive compared to the size of the drain. But what if we sped things up? Imagine more portals appearing, or the single portal expanding until it was the size of a football field. Then, the true transformation of our planet would begin. At first, maps wouldn't look all that different. The sea level would drop by 50 meters, and small changes would appear. Britain, Sri Lanka, New Guinea, and Java would suddenly connect to their neighbors. For the first time in centuries, the Netherlands would be free of the constant threat of flooding. In fact, Dutch engineers, world famous for reclaiming land from the sea, would now be faced with the opposite challenge: how to make use of all the brand new land appearing before their eyes. By the time the oceans dropped 100 meters, entire regions would start cutting off from the rest of the ocean. The Black Sea, for example, would become isolated and stop draining. As more basins closed off, we'd see smaller seas form all across the planet. Some would survive as inland lakes, others would dry up completely. When the sea dropped by 200 meters, Earth's map would begin to look truly alien. The islands of Indonesia would merge into a single massive block of land. New Zealand would expand with fresh coastlines. Even Japan would transform into a natural bridge, connecting Korea all the way up to Russia. Entirely new ecosystems would begin forming on these vast, exposed plains. At 500 meters down, the transformation would be undeniable. Whole new continents would rise out of the sea. Vast plains that were once deep ocean floor would be exposed to sunlight for the first time in millions of years. The Arctic Ocean would eventually disconnect, trapping its waters in an isolated basin. Humans, always resourceful, might even colonize these strange new lands. And you can bet the Dutch engineers would be the first ones building cities on the freshly revealed sea floor. Now, if you're enjoying this wild scenario so far, don't forget to subscribe to What If World. Subscribing helps our channel grow and lets us bring you more mind-bending what-if adventures like this one. So hit that button and join our community of curious thinkers. Back to Earth. When the sea level has dropped by 2 kilometers, the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico would lose their connections to the Atlantic. Entire island chains would fuse into larger landmasses. By 3 kilometers, the peaks of the world's longest mountain range, the mid-ocean ridge, would rise out of the water, creating jagged, volcanic landscapes stretching across the globe. New Zealand, which owes its name to the Dutch province Zeeland, would continue expanding, and perhaps, just perhaps, unite with Old Zealand in Europe across massive new land bridges. By the time 5 kilometers of ocean depth had drained away, most of the world's major seas would be cut off and stabilized at their new levels. Strange new lakes, shallow seas, and endless plains would dominate the earth. But don't be fooled by how exciting this sounds. The draining of the oceans would bring with it ecological disaster. Weather systems depend on the ocean's mass and currents. Entire ecosystems, from coral reefs to deep-sea trenches, would vanish forever. The collapse of marine life would cascade into a collapse of the global biosphere. And yet, humans might adapt. After all, we've survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and even engineered entire nations below sea level. With creativity, determination, and technology, it's possible we could find ways to live on this radically reshaped Earth. In the end, though, draining the oceans into Mars would mean trading our planet's rich diversity for barren land. While Mars would finally get its lakes and rivers, Earth would be left dry, desolate, and forever changed. So, what do you think? Could humanity survive a world without oceans? Or would this mark the end of civilization as we know it? One thing's for sure. This is a what-if we should probably leave to imagination. And remember to keep exploring mind-blowing scenarios like this one. Make sure you subscribe to What If World. That way, you'll never miss a chance to imagine the impossible and discover the incredible.